Alright guys, welcome back to the Regal Gentleman YouTube channel. Today we've got Andrew in the chair. How are you, mate? You good? You good? I'm good, mate. I can't complain, mate. So what are we doing today? What's the plan?
So kind of just let the hair grow. It's been the last 3 months, so kind of a bit of shape and a bit of love.
Okay,
so,
yeah, no worries. I can do that.
Kind of open-minded, really. I'm kind of looking like Timothee Chalamet, sort of Hairstyle kind of look. But lately I've just kind of let it grow, but it needs some attention, so I'm kind of open.
Right, okay, no worries, okay. Let's have a little look. You've got a bit of a Harry Styles vibe going on about you, actually, mate. You've got a similar look to him, actually. You know when you just like a peripheral vision kind of thing? I can see that. I don't know whether your hair is a bit too fine for them, but there are products we can use. It just depends on whether you're kind of happy to spend a bit of time on it to get it looking right.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty open-minded, so I'm happy to let you kind of take control of things.
All right, no worries.
Yes.
So when you say you've got like Timothee Chalamet, that kind of vibe, you've got a long way to go if you want to go down that route. But I think maybe if you were to do something that was a bit more, try and do something similar to Harry Styles for the time being, in a way, and then grow it out. If you want to do that, then that might be a good option. I'm just thinking, do you want to grow it longer? Is that the end goal?
If I can, but I know my hair is quite fine as well, so kind of sort of indecisive. That's why I'm sort of thinking.
Okay. And this was 3 months. What's this been grown out from?
3 months, where it was just a lot shorter.
Just what? But it was still. Did you still wear it quite messy, coming back of your face and everything? Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, look. The thing is with when your hair is finer, you can use products to create a bit more thickness in there. You know, you can use hair fibers to create more thickness in there. There's a lot of things you can do now. There's a lot of options. The only problem is, it's just very flyaway. Yeah. As you can see, it doesn't want to move about as much. It's kind of. Yeah, that's the only downside when you want to go for that quite heavily textured finish. It's just like sometimes you need a bit more thickness. That's one of the reasons why if you look at like Harry Styles and Timothee Chalamet, they've got that hair for a reason, because it works for them. You know what I mean? So it can be quite hard to make it look as identical, as close to that when your hair texture isn't the right one. It's like if I'd love some sort of wave in my hair, but it's just so straight, I can't do much with it. So I have to look at hairstyles that are going to work for my hair. That's the kind of way I look at it. But do you have any images in mind? Have you got any images that you've seen that I can kind of see where your brain and style's at? Like,
well, kind of if it was a little bit shorter, probably because like my hair's the right texture.
I don't think so, mate. No, I think his hair's way too thick.
Too thick?
Yeah, because that's quite long, actually, believe it or not.
Or if we can do something a bit shorter, don't know, maybe that could work. I don't know, some more short. I don't know.
That's still quite long, you know.
Fair. You know what? I'm kind of happy to let you kind of take control. I've seen your stuff, so I'm kind of happy to let you sort of work the way that you may feel is the best.
Okay. Trying to think if you want to keep going with it though. What I would probably suggest is I'd take the top down a bit. Because if you look at where if we pick it up, we can start to see where the thickness into where it starts getting a bit thinner towards the ends, right? Yeah. And these bits are really dry towards the end, and obviously as you can see, they're quite all over the place. Which, when you've got your texture hair, you actually want it to be a bit more solid in the ends. You don't actually want to be point cutting too much. You actually want to keep it more blunt cut. When you got curly hair, it keeps the ends looking like healthy and nice. If you point cut, especially to someone with wave or curl in the hair, it can make it look like it's drying out. So it doesn't really work. With mine, you need to point cut into mine. But when you're doing some sort of wave or curl, you need to kind of keep it a bit more structured, a bit more straight. What I think you could do is, I think you suit the wildness, you know, mate. I think you suit that kind of bigger hair, I would say, because it's got quite a bit of length in it, actually. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to think if we could longer than you think, actually, as well. Yeah. I'm surprised how long it actually is through here, because that looked quite. If you think about when you sat down before I pulled out your curls, it was quite close to the head.
Chanting the beast.
That's it, mate. That's it. That's part of my job nowadays, just taming now, I think. I'm just trying to think what we could do. I think if we were to give you something, it might be quite hard on to explain, because I'm seeing it in my head, right? Yeah. So it might be quite hard to explain. If I turn you, if I hold this mirror up here to the side, do you see that kind of loose wave you've got sitting through there as I've pulled the curl out? That looks a lot nicer than all the curl bunched up at the back.
Sure.
So if I can maybe separate out the curl and make it a little bit more wavy in a way, more than making it like bunched up, It's probably bunched up because of it's just growing out. That's probably what it is, to be fair. But if we could maybe create more of this kind of wave, maybe balance the top into the sides a bit more, so it's not as it still wants to be top heavy, but I feel like maybe not necessarily. These bits need to be so heavy and hanging. You know, they're kind of just dropping.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much product you'd need to keep that up, but yeah, probably would be a lot. But if we created a bit more of a shape that was a bit more like this, I think would work better for you, because at the minute, obviously, I know it's grown out, but I think if we were to take it a bit shorter towards the ears, and I'm not thinking anything too sharp or anything like that, I still think you want to keep length in it, but if we were just to be able to like use Harry Styles as an idea of that shape of how his hair is, where it's more like this kind of shape, right? It's a lot closer towards the ears, a lot closer to the neck, but there's still quite a lot of loose texture. It's almost like he's got a lot of undercuts flying through his hair, but it all works because the way his hair falls.
I feel mine's just kind of needs a bit of shape. It just feels like it just goes.
Basically, that you can see that, can't you? It just drops.
Yeah.
Problem is because it is so fine on the top, it will drop, right? It will just drop like that. But that's what we can do when we get some heat, some thickening sprays, powders, things like, there's loads of things we can use to create that look. All it means is that you're going to have a little bit more of an upkeep of style. But you know, a lot of these celebrities have a hairdresser doing their hair for them to make it look like that. So if you want to replicate a celebrity's hairstyle, you've got to think of the image you're looking at, and you've got to think of the level of detail that's gone into that, usually by someone like me.
Yeah, I just struggle to know what to do with curly hair, especially mine, so I kind of,
Yeah, it can be tough if you're not used to it. Yeah, if you've never had longer hair and you're not used to the wildness, it is crazy. But the thing is, we can make it look wild but structured.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? It won't look like you just got out of bed. You'll see the movements in there and all that sort of stuff. It will look decent. Is basically what I'm trying to say. But I think if you were to wear something maybe just a bit off to one side, then you could kind of make this look a little bit more structured. It's hard to really kind of explain, because there's no sort of like, there's no name for this hairstyle. There's no set way of, I could explain technically to you, but I don't think it'll make the slightest bit of difference how the end result will look for you in your mind. But all I'm thinking is just something that looks a little bit more like it should be cut at this length more than it just growing out at this length, if you know what I mean. Like trying to emphasize more loose wave, more flow through the hair, more than it being all bunched curls, is what I'm trying to get at. And then just cutting it down to a length that's going to work as well. So we're still keeping some length in there, but you know, all this I don't think you suit. You know, looking at your face shape, I think all this doesn't really work. I think all this length at the back makes the top look thinner. For me, you can see the change of colour, difference in the colour, darker blonde, a bit lighter through the top here. But I think that's kind of, the shape would be nice. And also, if I just show you, if you just look at your face shape, this is a really good one to see. I just pull your hair back and flatten it down a bit. You can see your face shape. That's what we need. That's the angle we need to do your hair at. So it needs to stay longer at the top here and go a bit short towards the bottom. So like the Harry Styles idea that I was on about, where we don't have to go like close to the skin. That's just the shape of the face. But just having more length up here and having less length around the ears will work better for your face shape as well. So I think that would be a nice one. But I still think you should still keep some length in there though, for sure. But it might be more you leave to me, and I'll make something work. Because I can't really explain it the other way, unfortunately. Sometimes we get like that. Sometimes there's no name for a style. Like a lot of the time we need a name for something, like, you know, like I think that's why they come up with like just like sort of words like bro flow and all that sort of stuff. I think these kind of like buzzwords are there because it's very hard to explain otherwise, I think. But yeah, I think let's just think of Harry Styles, but for your hair.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and then that way that's what a good. It's a very good base to grow it into something else if you want as well. Because if you look at Timothy's, like it's pretty much, you could say it's a grown out Harry Styles-esque hairstyle. Okay. If you know, obviously not secondly, but the kind of shape is a lot longer on top. It's got loads of wildness and waves, and so yeah, I think that might be the best thing to do. Yeah. But you might have to just bear with me on this one.
That's all right. Let's go rogue.
All right, yeah, do it, mate. Let's do it. Awesome, man. Well, let's get you gowned up and we'll get you started then. So Andrew's hair is now wet down. And this is where I'm going to start to section off. So I'm going to start with the horseshoe section because we're going to focus on the back and sides of the style that we're going for. And this will allow me to then really, really see the face shape. So as soon as we separate the top at the round of the head, at the recession point here, we'll start to see the shape of Andrew's face. And then that way we can definitely see what angle we need to hold it at. But again, using the comb at the start gives you a good indication of where that needs to be. There we go. horseshoe section is in, and now we can really see, yeah, we can see the concave here at the top. And if we put the comb on, that's the angle we're looking to do. So that is what will fill out these corners here and then lead it into the leanness of the jaw. That's what we're looking for. See, so we're going to take some length off it, but I want to take it a lot shorter through here, and then we'll use the razor to really break it up, and that's what will give a lot more flow to the sides as well. So I'm going to do 2 fingers in width, okay? Because we want to keep some length, but we also want to remove some length too. You can see already a disconnection already in there now. So that's falling out through the bottom, through the side bend there. Right, so what I need you to do, I need you to lean your head over for me, Andrew, like that. So by leaning Andrew's head over, me keep my fingers straight, that's the angle we're cutting at. So there's more length being left up here, and it's shorter down the bottom, okay? So it's good to use the clients to help you get the right angle too. So I think we can take that much off. What I do is keep my fingers nice and straight. It stops me having to sort of move in a way that's going to feel uncomfortable on your back and things like that. But what helps as well is that using the client just to tilt the head over, it's not uncomfortable for Andrew, it's more uncomfortable for us getting in an awkward position. So that's why I always try and work with the client as well. Someone just falling off a ladder.
Someone's by yourself.
I say, yeah. So I don't know if you've heard on the sound, guys, but we are in a bit of a building site at the minute. Fortunately, the buildings that we're in for the studio is getting done up, which is nice. But obviously, it doesn't help when we're filming, unfortunately. So.
Thoughts to the builder who lost his life.
Yeah. Yeah, this one goes out to the electrician who may have just fallen off a ladder. So.
Irish luck has run out.
So we're just working all the way down, same sections, getting a little bit closer to the bottom. So as we style this is where you're really going to see that shape coming a bit higher up, build a bit more weight, a bit more length up to the round of the head, and then we move into the top and transition it in. So you'll see a lot of that kind of movement and flow coming through, especially when we start to really work the razor into this hairstyle as well. That's really, really going to help, because I think Andrew's hair is thick enough on the sides and the back for that. Probably wouldn't use the razor on the top, but I'd definitely use it in the back and sides to give that a little bit more kind of movement in there as well, for sure. So there's an awful lot of length and bulk through that kind of middle bit there, all the way through here, which you really don't need at all. It's not going to help at all. The length we need is sitting through here. That's where we need that length. The rest of it is just to sit and kind of balance everywhere else and kind of give that little nice finish to the bottom. That's all we need that length for. Nice and straight. Make sure the tension's the same. Do you ever get people telling you look like Harry Styles?
Not much. Worked once or twice.
Really? Yeah.
Compliment.
Yeah, God, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Had his bank account, I'd be much happier.
Oh yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? 100 million%. Wow. Fingers nice and straight. There's a guide. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to work on the perimeter of the hairline now. So I'm going to cut into the bottom. I want to make this nice and sort of, I still want this to still sit over the ears, but I want to tidy up the side bends, things like that. So let's cut the perimeter in first, and then we'll work maybe a little bit of clipper over comb or something just to kind of tidy up the neck and whatnot. And I always do this as the hair's starting to dry, because you start to see the true length at the bottom as well. If it's too wet, Don't forget there's elasticity in there, so it might shrink. Especially with curls, you want to do it as dry as you possibly can. So now all the bottom here is pretty much dry now. So I'm just going to cut this through. That's where the weight will sit up, and as we style it, you'll see all the hair coming through there as well. But you still want to keep some length sitting through. Now I want to tidy these side bends up, but I feel like the last time on the last haircut may have gone a bit too high on the side bends, so I'm going to keep it a bit lower down this time. Just a little bit of clipper over comb or trim over comb. Yeah, I'm not going to go too short. I don't want to see like it's really, really noticeable. I just want it to look a bit tidy. Yeah, she doesn't know how to place. No scalping off like that at all. Now I'm going to trim these curls. Just look as though they're just sort of sitting there. They're a bit dry. They're not adding any structure to the haircut at all. I'm just going to tie them bits up so as it falls it looks a bit more fuller. Just trim down these curls here. So that's this kind of a movement that I want to show off. Get rid of that kind of heavy curl and have more of that wave sitting through there like that. And you see, keeping it nice and straight all the way along. I'm not going too high. I'm not taking that bit of the temple down. I'm not cutting away at this bit because we need this bit. That bit falls right back into here, like so. I'm just going to wet it down a touch now. And then just with the razor, I'll start cutting in some texture as well. I'm going to break this up now. I'm going to go from front to back because I want to force this hair to go back. Like that direction in there as well. And I'm going to go over the top here now to smooth out the bottom. A bit of freehand just to thin them bits out. There we go. Same through the back again. Still working on the right hand side of the head, so I'm still going to be going from front to back. And just smooth off. Just to thin these bits out now. Just pick bits up. as and when, and as I see them and as they feel, to me, a bit thick. So I was saying at the start, this kind of haircut is very hard to explain for the end result, because it's a very much like we're copying a hairstyle of somebody else, but at the same time trying to make it work for somebody who hasn't really got the same hair texture. So it's hard to give you like a structured plan. It's almost like, I've got the idea, start with a horseshoe, work palm to palm. I know the width I want to take the sections, but anything else after that, it almost comes to life as the haircut's evolving. So yeah, it's that kind of hairstyle. I'm sure anyone out there who's in the job kind of understands where I'm coming from. Some videos are very hard to kind of put a name on, or, you know, obviously you can reference celebrities and stuff, but the reality is that obviously you're never gonna have the same hair as them. So you have to just use them as a reference point. But yeah, I just had a feeling that this haircut was gonna be more of a kind of like bespoke, kind of hard way to explain. So hopefully I've explained it well enough that you understand so far. But again, it's a very visual way of doing this one. So I think, you know, being so visual is quite a good thing as well. So there we go. But you can see I'm just trying to create a load of movement, and I don't want it to look very natural. I don't want to put any harsh lines anywhere or anything like that. I just want it to look very natural. The overgrown finish is good when you're trying to grow your hair out as well, because it's something that you get used to straight away. Because when you are growing your hair out, you've got to get used to having hair over the ears and on the neck and stuff. And it is hard. It is a really hard thing to get used to. But by keeping this kind of shape and stuff like that, and keeping them all in through here and taking it a bit off here, what you'll find is you'll be used to this growing over the ears. Yeah. And then that way, as it grows out longer, and you want to go for that Timothee Chalamet look, or anyone who's growing it, watching, try not to get taken over the ears all the time, because you've got to get used to that coming over the ears at some point. And that's the kind of thing we always used to go to the barbers for, wasn't it, as guys? It was like, as soon as you come over your ears, let's go and get a haircut. So it's breaking down the psychology of what you're used to, really. Mm. Now, I'll pull this out straight, okay? Because I want length. I don't want to build up too much weight sitting over it, because otherwise it's going to fall. So because we've come on this angle, we've built a lot of length through the corner before the round of the head. Now I want to bring this straight out, because I don't want to put any more length or weight on top of the section below. I want to just build it up like this, okay? Use a guide underneath. There we go. I'm going to come straight out. So this is acting like the foundation for the top transition now. That's going to sit on top of that as we style it. If it was too heavy when we were pulling it down, it would just collapse, and we don't want it to collapse. We want to build that weight up through that corner. We cut the fringe in the same length too. So I felt like this was really long at the start, and I think if we cut that to the same length, that'll fall nicely into there as well. But you see, as soon as we start to style that, you'll start to see that building up and building up. That's where you'll see it'll work for your face shape, and also it'll hopefully replicate as close to Harry Styles as possible as well. You know, you see that shape starting to come to life a little bit there as well, can't you? You can kind of see that box shape coming through.
I feel more tidied up.
Yeah, you look more tidied up as well. So imagine we're just building a foundation of length, okay? Just letting everything sit on top of each other. Well, it's just pulling out like this, like brickwork almost, you know? It's all pulling out, it's just different layers sitting on top, not sitting over or sitting too short, sitting directly on top of each other. It's almost like just building itself up slowly. And then all we do is with product, we emphasize that. You see that shape we're trying to create here.
Is the problem when you're working from home, you just kind of let yourself go a little bit, I guess, in the hair department? It's
good for me though. It's good. When people do let themselves go, it gives me a lot more to work with. So if you're ever thinking of wanting to change, if anyone's watching out there, if you're ever thinking of wanting to change, do what Andrew did, grow it for 3 months, just leave it, and then come in and see me or see your barber or hairdresser. Because if you come too soon, there might be too much of the old haircut that we don't, maybe isn't going to work for the new style you're going for, or it might just, there could just be a few problems from the old haircut that you don't need in the style you're trying to create. But also it just gives the barber or the hairdresser a lot more to work with, which obviously helps an awful lot too. So yeah, anything 3 months over is a really good time to come in for a restyle, shall we say. Then right out, same as before. Guide. good as well, if anyone's watching this, barber or hairdresser, and you've got a mannequin, before you might feel confident enough to try this kind of technique on somebody where you're going like sort of shorter and shorter the higher up you go, try on a mannequin, because you'll see exactly what I'm trying to create here. You'll see it happening, and as soon as you put the heat on it and you blow dry it back, you'll see that shape come up. So it's worth it. If you've got any mannequin heads lying around and you've got long enough hair, give this technique a go, because I guarantee it's a really, really lovely technique. It's a very useful technique on a daily basis. And again, like I've always said, I always do haircuts that are wearable. I try and do haircuts that are not only stylable by me, but can be styled by the client as well when he gets home. A lot of the techniques I do are repetitive because they work, but you can start to like kind of adjust them slightly as well to match the style that you're going for. So I do horizontal sections on a lot of my hairstyles, short or long, but I just adjust them to match whatever I'm doing. So that's why this technique works really, really well, because it allows you just to kind of be a bit more bespoke at what you're doing as well. You know, create the hairstyle for the client more than just having like a one size fits all method, you know. Wait, just a bit off the fringe and that's it. Just gonna pull that straight out. Now, I'm going to do a section through the top now as well, so we're going to work again horizontally through the top. And I just want to take them ends off like we said before. There's our little peak that we're looking for. Just want to take that down. And as you've noticed, everything's been cut blunt. But because the sectioning pattern, the type of hair that Andrew's got, it looks very textured. I know we put a razor through it, but that was literally just for direction, a little bit of thinning out on the edges. The rest of it has all been done by the section pattern and the shape that we're trying to create. I'm going to do that over the crown now. I'm going to work diagonally across the crown, so I want to keep that in play. Let's have a little bit of movement at the back as well. And one vertical section, just take the little point off. There we go. There we go. Now a little bit through the front. I'm going to come this down from the apex and just try and strengthen up this fringe. You can see it's very, very fine at the front there. Let's strengthen it up. Match it up to the sides. Right, so that's all we're going to do today for now. But you'll see that shape once we start it through. You can start to see the shape that's sitting there now. So what I think we should use is, I think we should use some thickening tonic. Yeah, I'm going to start with some thickening tonic first. I'm also going to put a little bit of grooming cream through this as well. Just because of the dryness, I want to take the dryness away. So a little bit of grooming cream within the hair as well, just for when I come to blow dry it. There is a curl cream there, but I want to get not rid of the curls, but I want to add more wave. That's what I'm looking for to try and do. A little bit of grooming cream, okay? The thing is, when I've styled some clients for like red carpets and premieres and stuff like that, like I have a 45-minute window to style their hair, right? And I would use, there's one client I worked with in March in London, and I started off with a texture paste to dry it off, to start after it was freshly washed. Texture paste in the hair, blow dried that, so it set it. Then it got ready. then we done it again afterwards. I re-blow dried it again just because his hair, it was quite fine and it does fall quite easily. And then to finish off, I started with some powder to thicken up the top. And then I used clay and pomade mixed together to hold it in the wind. You couldn't tell because we'd layered it all in, but that's the type of thing you go to. And then the problem is people show me an image of that and I know what I did for that. Yeah. And I'm like, that took me ages. You know what I mean? Like to make it look and stay like that. So that's why we've got to take it with a little bit of pinch of salt and try and get it to look as close to that as possible without obviously all that effort that goes in with a paid hairstylist being there. You know what I mean? I want to smooth it out a little bit. I'm going to start with the sides. I'm just wrapping the hair around like this. Okay, just scooping it out like so. Can you see that shape in there that you're trying to create? The bulk in the corner. Just all you do with your brush is just scoop it like that. Okay, you're just scooping it up like revving a motorbike. Okay, put it in, rev it, and put the heat on it. Okay. You could do this with your fingers, but this is going to look the best doing it this way. Okay. Doesn't have to like this every day. Pull it away apart nicely, just at the round of the head. And then just finish off with our fingers. Pick out that kind of texture that you want to create. And just twist it around your fingers to create that wave. Well, that's it dried in. So that's where you start to see the shape that we created in there. Okay, much closer, much more length through here, but it sits in a much more clear finish, like that, right? Then once you've dried it in, finish off with some powder. Okay, now I'm going to use the powder to create movement in there, but it'll also create thickness as well. All right, so we've got our base products of the grooming cream and the thickening spray. Thickening spray is obviously thicken it up. The grooming cream to soften the hair, make it move about a little bit easier. Your hair feels very soft. Okay, then if you have a little feel of it, but it feels really soft, which is what we want. So we want to kind of have that softness to it. I'm going to sprinkle this all over the top. Now the good thing about this is it's weightless, okay? You're not going to add any weight to your hair whatsoever. You know what we do? Rub it in like that. And then we style it. I want it to look quite wild, but structured, and we just twist. Okay, just twist the hair. That's what will create that quite Harry Styles-esque, or that kind of loose length sitting at the top there. You just twist it to show it off, basically. Well, I don't know about you, but your hair looks really thick, man.
Very much tidier.
Well tidier, mate.
Yeah, thank you. Looks great.
It really does. It looks lovely, mate. And then you just literally just have an image in your mind of how you want it to look when you style it, and then do it.
Come back in 3 months again.
Yeah, certainly. You know where we are, mate. There we go. And just trying to do it as close to the picture or just close to the idea that I had of Harry Styles in mind. And then, taking the kind of wildness off or the frizz off, I just finish off with a bit of hairspray. And this just puts that coating on it. Like that. And do it from as far away as possible. And it won't look like you've got hairspray on. There we go. And that is what it looks like from the side. So you get that movement, that flow, more than it just being heavy curl. That's the kind of shape you get. And then you can grow this out into something else if you want to.
Cool.
Happy?
Yeah, really nice.
Looks cool, man.
Really cool.
Thanks, man. That kind of structured but still slightly wild finish, you know. I think it looks really nice, man. Thank you very much, bud. You're welcome.
I want to be professional in the video, but I was trying to hold back from saying that.
What's that, mate?
I tried to be professional in the video, but I was going to say you can put it saying painting it with your French girls.